he was like my prince on a white horse at the time, you know. Little did I know that, you know, the horse was actually not really white. The horse was spray painted, and sooner or later it would start raining, and you know, it turned out that he wasn't the prince and the horse wasn't white, you know. I don't know. What is up, you guys? It's your girl Jennyfer Ross, back at it again with yet another video. Today's video is a story time, as you have probably seen by the title, but today's story time is not any other random story time, you guys. Today's story time is quite interesting because the person who I am going to be talking about asked to be exposed. He asked me, like, when are you going to tell my story? I thought that was pretty hilarious, and yeah, I wanted to share this with you guys. So let's not drag this intro on way too long. Give this video a thumbs up. Let me know if you want to see more story times, and let's just go ahead and get into it. Like always, I'm gonna start off with a disclaimer, you guys. This guy did give me his permission to talk about him, but that still doesn't mean that I want to expose him like that. The internet is, you know, is a very powerful source, and I just don't want this story to get back to him in any type of way. I thought it was very funny that he asked me to tell this story, but I just want to put it out there that I'm not gonna name his name, and you know, I'm gonna keep him private or whatever, because not because he asked me to tell this story, that means that I should expose him like that, if you know what I'm saying. So this story started when I was back in school. I was supposed to go to America to study for a long period of time, and I was just taking extra courses to just get extra points on my credit list, and one of those classes was a Spanish class. So I was pretty much a very good student. I would always like try to do, you know, the hard work and just, you know, try to do my best in class. So I'm pretty much a nerd when it comes to that. I was really one of those girls. So I was single at the time. I didn't meet Benny yet. He knows I'm talking about this, and he thought this was hilarious too. So no problems there. Anyways, it was the first day of the class, and I was sitting there, you know, the class already started, and in comes this guy who was a little late. My eyes immediately fell on this guy because he is a guy very rich in chocolate, and I'm gonna be honest, guys, I always imagined myself with a tall, dark, and handsome guy, and at that particular time, he just fitted that description. I really thought he was hot, and I was like, oh my god, Zaddy just walked in like he cute, okay? So I was like, interesting. But at the same time, I was a very committed girl, committed to school. I was always, it was always my dream to study in America. I just wanted to have that experience, go to university there, and just really, you know, experience that American university feeling as I always saw in the movie. So I didn't want for anything to jeopardize that for me. So that's why I was single, and I basically was single during the whole time of my studies because I just didn't want any drama. Like, I don't know, if you're going abroad, you know you're going abroad, but you have a boyfriend, maybe some type of boyfriend, maybe not everybody, but some boyfriends aren't really supportive. They don't want you to go, like they want to stay with you, they're very selfish and stuff like that. I just didn't want any of that, okay? Back to the story. I was sitting in that class. That guy walked in, and I was like, who are you? Because you cute, you know. So nothing happened. He came 3 times to that class, and then he never showed up again. I thought it was a bummer because he was eye candy, and yeah, I had to just pay attention to the class when he didn't show up for the class anymore. So yeah, the time passed by, the class was over, and it was time for me to leave for America. I left. I was there and having a great time, and then halfway in to my first semester, I started to feel really homesick. I was calling my parents a lot. I was just starting to miss home a lot. I was calling my sister a lot, you know, just trying to, I don't know, I was just reminiscing about home. And I really felt homesick. So I was a lot attached and in contact with my life in Holland, because I lived in Holland at the time. So one day I was supposed to be studying because midterms were coming up, and you know, it was time to study. But why would I study if I can go on Facebook, right? So I was on Facebook, chilling on Facebook, and this guy slides into my DM. I opened up the message and I couldn't believe my eyes, because it was the guy from the Spanish class. And I was like, oh my god, like, how did he find me? Did he remember my name? Like, I had a lot of questions, but I didn't ask them all at the time. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really remember what he said, but it must have been something in the trend like, hey, how are you, la la la. And then he told me how he found me. And that was like, you still have that option on Facebook that you see like in your friends request list, like people that you may know. He saw my picture popping up in his people that he may know, and he clicked on it and he was like, oh, that's the girl from the Spanish class. So he decided to send me a message, and we started to talk. We were talking about the Spanish class. We were laughing about it. I asked him why he didn't came to the class anymore. I don't really remember what he said for that, but anyways, we started to have like a little small talk. And because I was missing home that much, we were, I don't know how it happened, but we just started to talk with each other more and more every day. He would send me a message like, hey beautiful, how did you wake up today? I hope everything is going right with you. I just hope you're having a wonderful morning, stuff like that. And it really made me feel great at the time. I'm not gonna lie about that. So we reached this point in, oh, first of all, I need to tell you guys something. He also told me, like, we were talking and he told me that he lived in the same building as where I was living. And that was interesting because I never saw him there before, so he must have moved there when I was in America. But I was supposed to return back to my old apartment where I lived previous to studying in America. So I was really excited about that. Like, how often does that happen? You see someone in a random place where you don't expect to see them. You see a very cute guy, then you never see him again, and then he ends up living in the same building as you. That's just weird, okay? But I thought like, oh my god, all stars are aligned. This guy, it's just meant to be. Like, oh my god, I can't believe it. When it's right, it's right. That's what I thought. So we were talking and talking, and we reached a certain point in which we kind of had like some type of relationship, a long distance relationship. But I'm 100% sure that I asked this guy whether he was single, because that's the first question I always ask, you know, whether somebody is single, because you want to know if there is, if there's room for you, if you know, if you have an opportunity there. So I'm 100% sure that I asked, and he said yes, that he was single. So I felt like, oh my god, this is cute. I really want to see this guy in person. I'm so, you know, I'm so happy to meet this guy. So long story short, we were talking and we basically agreed that we would just meet when I got back. But to be honest with you guys, he promised me that, you know, we were really acting as a couple. Like the things that he would send me, the way that he would talk to me, he was like my prince on a white horse at the time, you know. Little did I know that, you know, the horse was actually not really white. The horse was spray painted, and sooner or later it would start raining, and you know, it turned out that he wasn't a prince and the horse wasn't white, you know. I don't know. So the point came that I had to go back home, and I told him. He knew when I was coming back home. He knew about all of that. So he, I remember I got back in Holland, and I told him like, you know, I need to start school February, but I will be at my parents' place until for Christmas and also for New Year's Eve, and after that I will come back to my apartment and I'll let you know that I'm home. As soon as I got back home, or actually in Holland, I noticed some type of distance from his side. He wouldn't text me anymore in the morning. He would take very, very long for him to answer my text messages, and deep down I felt that the situation was sketchy, but I didn't want to believe it. I really wanted to believe in that whole fairy tale situation, so I figured like, you know what, maybe, I don't know what he was up to. I really didn't know, and I really didn't want to think anything bad of it. So I just was like, you know what, I can wait for the date for me to go home, and then I can really see what is up with this guy. So I remember going back home, and then I called him and I let him know that I was home, and he came over to my place. We were talking and we just did like, you know, really got to know each other, and it was really fun. I really felt like, oh, okay, I was just worried for no reason. And I told him like, why did it take you so long to answer me the past few days? I've noticed some type of distance. And he told me, he promised me that there was no type of distance, you know. Okay, and I believed him. But one thing that was interesting is that he did not tell me on which floor he lived. He didn't let me know on which number he lived, but meanwhile he came to my apartment. He sat on my chair, had my tea, you know, like not the tea, but he you know, he sat there and had tea with me, and I don't even know where he lived. Like, that's quite interesting. And we live in the same building. We've been like building castles, like virtual castles, for the past few months. Like, what's up with that? You know, I thought that was a little sketchy, but I didn't want to push it. I was like, you know, I just got to know this guy. He doesn't need to marry me all right away, you know, like let's take it slow. So, but still, I felt like, you know, it was weird that he wouldn't send me any morning messages anymore, or that he would take long to message. So the days went on. I think like after the first day that I saw him, it still took him very long to text me back. Then the second day I asked him whether I would see him, and he told me well, later. And he came by like very late, so it just didn't felt right. Okay, then 4 days into me being back in my apartment, I texted him, and it took him a very long time to text me back. And I was over it. I was like, you know what, I need to know what is going on. So I called him first, and he didn't pick up. I texted him, he didn't answer me. And you know, like, when maybe you've been through it, maybe you haven't, but I started to feel like really, really nauseous about this whole, like literally, I really started to feel nauseous about this whole situation, because I felt like, you know, something ain't right. And I was right, because it wasn't right, but okay. So I called him again like 6 million times, and he ended up picking up, and he was acting as if he really couldn't talk. So I asked him like, can you talk? And he said like, yeah, because maybe he didn't want for me to know what was really up. And I said like, well, I just want to know what's going on. And he said like, how do you mean what's going on? I said like, well, what's going on? When I was in America, you would always text me like good morning, good night, and now that we live in the same building, like I barely see you, you barely text me back, you don't pick up when I call you, what is going on? And he said like, yeah, well, I said like, do you have a roommate? And he said like, yeah, I have a roommate. And I was like, okay, is it the woman or is it a guy? Is it a girl or is it a guy? And he said like, yeah, well, it's a girl, and she's actually my ex. I was like, hold up, freeze. She is your what? Your ex, you said? At that moment, I just felt like my stomach just dropped. I wanted to throw up. I was really heartbroken a little bit about it, and at the same time I was also angry, because who does this fool think he is, that he can lie to me like that into my face? You decided for me that I was going to be your side chick or whatever. I ain't no side chick. Like, what? No. I was really sad, but at the same time I was angry. So the angry part of me, it took over, and I started to yell. I was like, you know what? I'm going to wash my clothes, because we had like washers on every floor, and I'm going to the first floor. You better come to the laundry room right now, and you come meet me there, and you're gonna explain everything to me right now, because this is not okay. And if you don't, then I'm gonna find your girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, whatever, and I'm gonna tell her everything that you did. So I really threatened him, and he came to the laundry room. I was really upset with him. I started to yell at him. I started to scream at him. And I was, most of all, I was really upset and angry with the part that when you lie to me, I have no choice but to believe you, you know? Like, unless that I know it's a lie. But like, you gave me no chance to decide for myself whether I wanted to be in this or not. You let me create all these feelings for you, while you knew you were in a relationship. Like, I was really upset with that, you guys. Like, I couldn't believe, you know, I got punked like that. I felt really punked. I felt stupid, because how could I let him drag me into this? How could I just believe him on his word? You know, I really couldn't believe it. And yes, I was very naive. I still can be very naive sometimes, but I think I'm more woke now. But at the time, yes, I was naive, and I would believe anything, you know? I was just, I don't know, I like to believe that people are good, but sometimes, you know, it's just not like that. Anyway, long story short, we were angry. I was like basically fighting with him, not like really, you know, physically fighting, but like, you know, the word vomit. Like, I was very mad at him. So we were yelling and everything in that room. I'm gonna be honest, he was quiet the whole time, so it was like I was going crazy in there, because I was the only one who was doing the screaming and everything. And he probably knew that it wasn't right what he did, so he didn't really argue with me. Then when I put all my clothes in the washer, and I remember I was also crying, because I was really hurt, you know? I was vulnerable. I was really vulnerable at the moment I started to talk with him. You know, I was missing home. I just felt like, you know what, it's great, I'm gonna go home, there are still gonna be great things. The fact that I was single for such a long time, I just felt a little insecure about those things, and then I get lied to like that. I really felt so punked, and I hated it, you know, I hated it. So I went back to my apartment, and he must have timed when the washer would be done, because when I went back to get my laundry, he was there waiting for me. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, get the fuck out of my face. And he was like, there's no need to be like that, Jennifer, just calm down. I just came here to check on you, to see whether you are okay. And if you don't want to talk to me ever again after this day, that's fine. But there are crazy people living in this building, and I just don't want anything to happen to you. Well, he was right. There were crazy people living in that building. But I was like, you know, F you, boy. Fuck off, you know, like just fuck off. I've been living here for 4 years, nothing ever happened to me before, just get the F out of my face. And he was like, no, I'm just gonna bring you downstairs back to your apartment, I'm gonna make sure that you're inside, and if you don't want to talk to me after today, then that's up to you, but at least I'm gonna make sure that you're safe. And I was just standing there like, okay, whatever. So we pressed for the elevator. He walked with me to my apartment. I walked inside, I put my laundry inside, and I like literally looked him in the eye, and I smashed the door in his face. Like, this is what you get, bye. And I felt really hurt. I'm not gonna lie, I felt really hurt by that situation, because it's just not. Imagine if you have this idea that things are gonna go great and everything points in that everything is gonna go great, and then it all comes crumbling down right in front of you, like as if they throw a buckle of water over you, like ice cold water. That's how I felt, you know. I couldn't believe that it was all a lie. So I gave it some time to let it all process, but after all, I was proud of myself that I backed off from that situation, and I was also proud of myself that I saw the alarm bells this time, that I listened to my gut feeling, you know. 2 days later, I had the feeling of realization that I knew, like, okay, this was just the best thing to do. This guy is a punk, and no more, no longer. So then he started to text me and call me, but I wouldn't really answer him. I was like, you know what, you're just gonna get the silent treatment. So what he started to do is annoying me in a different type of way, because at the time we used BlackBerry, I remember, and what he would do is he would send me messages like, hey, I know that you're reading this, I hope you're having a wonderful day. So now I had to make it a challenge to not even read his messages anymore. Somewhere down the line, I don't know, he didn't leave me alone. He was really sorry about everything that he did, and he admitted that it was stupid and that he shouldn't have done it, la la la. Eventually I gave in and I wanted to talk about it with him. I just wanted to have closure about this whole situation. So I did ended up asking him all the questions that I should have asked him before, which was like, I wanted to know how their living situation was. Like, was he lying to me this whole time? He was, though, because he told me like, yeah, well, we have 2 bedrooms, of course. One of those rooms we made it into a living room, and the other room we made it into a bedroom, but I was always sleeping in the living room. I didn't believe that for 1 second, because seriously, you really want to tell me that you were sleeping on the couch? Boy, I ain't believing that shit. That's the dumbest thing that I've ever heard. I don't believe that, okay? I didn't. So, but he told me that they basically had issues, they had problems in their relationship, and that he still wanted to break up with her, la la la, you know the drill, you know these stories, you know what I'm saying, come on. So, eventually they did had a baby after, you know, after me finding out and all. Not immediately, but like, you know, that just proved my point that they were doing more. They were definitely sleeping together, and they were doing more than sleeping, if you know what I'm saying, you know. Juicy. Eventually, I wasn't really angry with him anymore. I was really proud of myself that I found out. I was just, you know, happy for myself and proud of myself that I didn't, you know, gave in to this situation and like allow myself to enter another toxic situation. I was just really happy about that. So basically, we ended up being friends down the line somewhere. I don't know how that happened or when that happened, but we just ended up being friends. I can say about him that he's a very respectful guy. He did apologize for what he did a long time ago, so that's over. We're not like really close friends as if like as besties or as friends that see each other every day, because he lives on the other side of the globe right now, you know, so that's not happening. He's just this type of friend who just slides into my DM to say, hey, hi, how are you doing, what have you been up to, you know, just checks on me. And he is very respectful about my current relationship. I am very respectful about his current relationship or whatever it is that he has going on. We just basically wish each other the best. This is just how things have unfolded. I have no hard feelings against him at all, but basically my message out of the story time is just stay woke, girls. If it looks too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true, you know. If your feeling tells you, okay, this guy has a girl, you know, You should never feel nauseous when a guy doesn't respond to your text messages. You should actually not even be dating someone who doesn't answer your text messages, you know? You should not feel that type of way about a guy at all, you know? When you're in a relationship that is healthy, or when someone is really into you and only into you, you will definitely notice that things are going smooth. There are no bumps in the road, you know, like there's just no bumps. And in this case, there were bumps. There were serious bumps. But yeah, that wraps up this story time. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys liked it. If you did, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, and I hope to see you soon in my next video. Bye!